Hello everyone and welcome back for another episode of Indie Impressions. My name is Nick and today we're checking out Akaneiro Demon Hunters. This is by Spicy Horse Games and this is one of those games that just got greenlit from that last batch if you remember. It looks pretty cool actually. It's an action hack and slash style free-to-play online RPG. I know that is a lot of genres to be naming all there off the top. But I do want to take this opportunity to actually approach this game with a slightly different approach than I usually do. I've actually played about 45 minutes of this one to get a feel for it, and I just figured this was the type of game that the developer's not going to be swayed in any particular direction based on my very, very first impressions or blind gameplay. So I figured, why not? Let's try this out, see how this works for you guys. I know this has been a pretty frequently requested thing that I do, and no guarantees that I'll continue doing it in the future, but for this game I figured it would fit pretty well. So let's log in, and I will show you to my character here. So I've got the Mechanica. There were 3 styles of different character to pick from when you're making a new one, and they range from basically like a long-range attack, sort of like a rogue, and then 2 styles of warrior, one of which uses heavy weapons, one of them is a lot faster. So I went with the faster one. So we're going to be using primarily these 2 single-handed katanas, which I upgraded from some axes. So let's jump into the actual game here. I don't think you guys really need to see much else on this interface in particular. And I will start explaining. So here we are. I mentioned this is an open beta, so that means that everything that I say as far as criticism you should take with somewhat of a grain of salt. There are a few features that I've noticed are a little bit iffy and or missing. So don't get too harsh on it, but at the same time there are some things that I figure it's a little bit difficult to really sum up, just because, I mean, yeah, it's an open beta. That means they've actually taken the pains to say, we want people to jump in and play this. So, you know, it's kind of a balancing act. Yeah, take it seriously, but at the same time, you know, stuff may still change. So this is our main town level hub, and I would liken this game, in essence, to like a Torchlight style game, but with a Japanese aesthetic to it. But that only goes so far, because Torchlight, if you've played it, is sort of an open world-ish RPG, and I use that term very loosely because there's a lot of loading screens. But to give you a feeling of how this might differ, well, here's all we have to see of the world as far as I know. We started out in the town, which is over here, and then the first 3 missions all take place in this one area, and then you eventually spend your karma, which is your currency. You'll see I have 1492 of those right now, to then unlock the second area, which means there will be grinding for sure. So access 3 more missions and raise character level cap to 8. That's interesting. So you actually you have to unlock new areas to get to the next. Anyway, so I did the first 3 missions, largely okay. I mean, nothing particularly good or bad to say in terms of like the structure of them. I think they're maybe a little bit boring, but I'll just jump into one. You guys can see what I'm talking about, and during the process of that I will get you acclimated to some of the character conventions and the way that the game works. So we are now in a combat zone, as you can probably tell pretty quickly. The primary enemies that we've been fighting through the majority of the beginning of this have been wolves, which is fine. I mean, whatever. It's we're going for the Oriental theme. Wolves are a big deal. And also I've read that they are using some sort of a like Little Red Riding Hood art influence in this, which I guess is kind of present. I don't know. I think that a lot of the art I've been seeing in the marketing maybe more so. Oh, I kind of have to speak about this. So this is a common occurrence as I destroy this wolf here. Almost every time that I open one of these boxes and something comes out of it, your character seems to get stuck on the edge of the boxes. And again, this is open beta. We're still working on little fine details like that, and that could be patched tomorrow, but like there's a lot of kind of awkward, clumsy collision stuff going on from what I've seen. Also, let's open the interface real quick. So this is our character's interface as far as, you know, equipping stuff and the general, you know, the equipment slots and stuff that you're used to if you played any of these style games before, including, you know, World of Warcraft and that. So there's a pretty large variety of weapons that I've seen dropped. Kind of hoping to try out a Nodachi at some point, except they're slow and I kind of prefer faster weapons. One thing I found a little awkward though, like the interface for looking at all your equipment is just kind of weird. Like it jumps all over the place as you're looking through all these different boxes. I mean, it makes sense that the tooltip follows the cursor to some extent, but also, like, the stuff on the left is sort of jumping up and down. I know, it's because it's doing equip compare, and when you have two weapons on your hands, then I guess it's trying to equip and show you both of them. But I would have liked if these things were maybe a little bit smaller and off to the side, so they're not, like, occluding a bunch of the space. Like, in general, I just think that the sizing and scaling of some of these UI elements might still need some work. I mean, look at all the space in between all these items. Why does it have to be so big? Just take this whole thing, scale it down a ways, and then use some of the space above it for equipment information, and then you don't have to be looking all over the place to try and see what's up. Not a huge deal, I just thought I would point that out. So, yeah, so that's that. Then we've also got our skills right here. I guess you can equip skills from other skill trees, but I wasn't really sure how that works yet. So I've only gotten, this came default, what is it, no, this one came default, the Rain of Blows 1, which is your standard, like, fast attack, which is your right-click go-to weapon, or go-to attack, and then your Hungry Cleave, I just bought that for, like, 1200 karma, and that's your, like, quickly regenerate some health while you're fighting stuff attack. There is my character stat card, and then that's pretty much all there is to see on that. We've got a couple of things here, settings-wise, nothing too crazy. Quality defaulted to low, I don't know why. I had it set on best when I quit the game. Another one of those games that was a little awkward when you quit it, it jumps all over the place. I will actually just reload this real quick so you can see the best possible graphics settings, alright? So I'll be right back. Alright, so there we go. I reloaded the settings. Honestly, the graphics don't really look all that great to me. In general, it sort of looks a little bit like everything's a bit muddy and blurry. I'm not sure to what degree they're going to still work on the aesthetics, but in terms of this, what we have as like a product to look at versus some of the marketing I've seen, definitely a bit of a letdown. But you know, the focus isn't so much on the graphics in games like this. The focus is generally on the combat and how the game flow and progression works, as well as what kind of characters you can expect to see and run into. And as far as the combat goes, I mean, it feels okay. It doesn't feel amazing. It's a little bit of just one of those grindy games where you just get tons and tons of the same enemy over and over again, and you keep beating on them. And one thing that definitely dissuades me a little bit is, you have to watch this, but as I click on each of these enemies, there's definitely some sort of a delay between me making contact most of the time and actually like seeing the impact as it manifests as a visual cue, like that. That was like almost a full second from when that happened to when I actually saw the impact. And I believe that the reason they're doing this is because their bread and butter for this game is going to be the fact that it's a free-to-play game and relies heavily on their ability to control the in-game economy. And as you can see, these shards right here, 1627, you have the option at any point to stop and buy some karma with real dollars. So 50 or 5, I'm not sure what 50 means, 50 something gets you that for 5, 10, or $20. Maybe there's some sort of a spicy horse currency or something, whatever. So yeah, what's happening as far as I can tell, and it's the same thing that happened in Diablo 3, is when you click on an enemy, it's sending back a server authentication and then returning it with a hit, as long as the server is successful in, you know, pinging. So what that results in is slightly like a disjointed feeling when you're actually playing. Maybe that doesn't bother everybody, and maybe it's not the case for everybody that it stays this way. I mean, I have a pretty decent internet connection. I'm on cable. I'm able to play anything you can pretty much name online just about fine. So, I mean, I shouldn't probably expect for that delay to happen in an open beta, but, you know, if they're still testing out the servers, making sure everything's fine, then, you know, I can get past that. Not really that big of a deal. But I do want to point out that the same thing pretty much happened in Diablo 3. There we go, I killed a purple one there. And when Diablo 3 actually came out as a full game, you know, we still had some of that issue. Or at least I did. I can't speak for everyone. But we don't want to speak too much on Diablo 3, otherwise I'm going to end up getting some hate in the comments, and I just don't want that at all right now. I want to be talking about Akaneiro. So, what other things can we talk about here? We've got pretty standard progression. We just kind of go from point A to point B. The element of story is really minimal. In fact, I actually laughed out loud at the very beginning of the game. They said one line of dialogue, and then it was met like with, "That's enough talk, let's get to the action," or something, and it just kind of skipped right ahead. So now I get to show you what happens when you die. You can either forfeit the mission as you've gotten to so far, or revive to full power, smite nearby enemies, no penalty to earnings, but it costs you 27 karma. I obviously have plenty of karma to make that a worthwhile thing to do, because you'd actually be losing way more to just go back to town. I'm not sure why you would do that. Maybe you get to keep your items. But the trade-off is, as you die more and more, that cost is going to go up and up. So eventually you might reach a point where you get to a mission that's so hard, if you're dedicated enough to want to keep going at the rate you're going, you may end up actually paying some real money or something to keep that progression that you've locked in. Seems kind of like a cheap shot to me, but you know, who am I to really knock down their ability to make money off the game. So this is on Kickstarter right now. I believe they're trying to raise quite a bit of money for it. Despite it being an open beta, you know, you'd think it would be mostly taken care of already, but I guess they still have a lot of maybe debt or, you know, outstanding things they need to cover. And I guess that was one of our quest moments there, to kill that old guy. And just more and more wolves, so just keep fighting lots of wolves. They just keep jumping out of the background there. Not a lot of strategy involved in this in general, at least with this particular type of character, and perhaps that's why I picked it, because I kind of wanted that. It's mostly just run in, mash buttons. We're actually fighting the end game horde of this mission for whatever reason. I was supposed to go in that caged area, but it just didn't happen. Interesting, though, that I actually was able to beat this at level 1 and not die at all. And now that I'm level 3, I don't know, maybe it's scaled or something, but it seems a bit harder. And there aren't any potions, you may notice. I'm not, you know, mashing on 1 or anything. There's no hotbar for items. It's all just whatever you can do as far as your skills. The only thing I'm actually mashing on, perhaps, is this number 2 attack, which is the one that I can use to regain some health. Oh boy, 69. Let's revive again. Like I said, the first time I played this, I didn't die at all, so I don't know, it's kind of weird. And I got 60 XP and another no dachi and a whole bunch of items, which I'm going to have to sort through when we get back to town and see if there's anything worth equipping. The general trend has been there's not a whole lot worth equipping until you get to higher levels, which makes sense. I mean, that's kind of the standard kind of default thing you might expect in this sort of game. I mean, usually the draw for these is you want to get as far as possible. Oh, you know what? I think maybe this map is a little bit different from the first time I played it. I'm pretty sure there's a path going through there. But the draws usually you get as high as possible in levels, and then you get, you know, cooler looking armor and the usual stuff, and I'm sure that's probably where we're going with this as well. There are a few classes of armor I've noticed, which I'll go over with you once I get into the equipment menu in a moment. But I do want to finish off all these guys. Yeah, these guys have to be harder, because I was able to one-shot everything on level 1. Maybe that was like a training mission to get you ready for the game, and once you beat it, it like goes into normal mode or something. When I was also in town, you might have noticed there was a plus sign underneath my character's portrait on the left side of the screen. That's how you would get other people into your game. As of right now, I have not tried playing it with anyone else. But that is something I would definitely be interested in doing. And keeping in mind, again, this is a free-to-play game, or will be a free-to-play game when it actually officially is released. So you can't be too harshly critical on it, I guess, because it's not like you really shelled out any money for it. It's all up to you about how much you want to spend to get whatever you get out of it. Personally, I'm not the one to really play, or the type to play games that involve you getting addicted to them and then they start charging you money, because there's no ceiling to how much you could end up spending on that. I mean, I've heard people spending tons and tons of monies on games like League of Legends and Dota and stuff, and I sort of worry about myself if I get too addicted to it, what I would do to my wallet. I mean, I need that money too much to risk spending it on a game that may have no end in terms of how much you could put into it. So that personally scares me a little bit, but I understand that's maybe my own fault. So if you have a little bit more self-control, maybe you shouldn't feel so bad about it. So I believe we've murdered everything in this entire vicinity, and there's a bigger map you can see if you toggle it. Looks like weird brass knuckles with like an elephant trunk. Let's go back to the town. And there are a few vendors here to talk to in a moment. We'll check that out as well. So we've crossed threshold for level 3. At least it looks like we have. It didn't actually go to level 4 though, which is a little weird. Usually it just goes past that and then starts over at the next bar. Maybe I have to do something about that. Or maybe this is capped, which would be a little bit sad. So this is the guy you talk to learn new abilities. He's got lots of them, but they're all quite heavily priced. They've definitely weighted the prices of most things toward favoring wanting to buy currency. I mean, sure, you can probably do everything in this by taking a really long time, and I think that's just the standard way that this all works. But in this case, they kind of want you to, you know, break down and buy stuff. So we've got this adorable Amaterasu here, which we can buy to hang out with for 30 minutes, or a lovely Maneki Neko, who's quite cute as well. When we get to level 8, we unlock some other thing, and that goes on down the line. Oh no, this is level 4. So it jumps there, then over there, then down. Okay, no, it's actually just sort of random. So you'd think I would have gotten to level 4 now. Anyway, whatever. This vendor doesn't want to talk to me. This is your seller type person where you would go to get rid of all your junk. You'll see my inventory is getting quite cluttered now. So we'll want to go through that briefly. The process of looking through this stuff to see what you can equip is a little bit annoying, but you know, that's just the way that this inventory type management stuff goes. I wonder if doesn't seem to be a way to like sort everything. So it would be kind of cool if you could just have everything higher level, just sort right to the top. But I obviously am not going to spend long sorting through all this stuff, because that is not what you guys want to watch. See, if I was level 4, I could equip the sweet bandit mail. But as it stands, I'm going to end up selling most of this stuff. And there's also a transmute option, which, as far as I can tell, doesn't seem to do anything. There was basically no tutorialization when I started the game. It just started me, like, standing right here, and it was just like, go. So it's really up to you to figure out what you want to get out of this. But I believe there's a forum, so there are some people to talk to. So I briefly touched on the art style. I mean, they're heavily going for that, like, sumi painting, you know, old-style Japanese art, which, if you need a reference as far as a game, I think a game that did it pretty well was something like Street Fighter 4. You know, that really heavy ink. Everything's got a bit of an outline, and in this case, I mean, it looks okay, but like I said, a lot of the textures are a little bit blurry or washed out, and there's a lot of just strange edges to things, and it's also got sort of a cel-shaded quality in a certain way. Like, it wants to be colorful, but it also wants to be desaturated, and it's sort of striking a balance between the two, and I'm not really sure what to make of that. The art in these menus is very pretty, and I wish the game could have looked a little bit more like that. I guess in my mind what I'm sort of hoping it would look like is, if you've ever played, there was a series of Bleach fighting games that came out on the PSP. I'm not sure if they ever got ported to anything, but I think they had a really nice balance between like flat shading and cel shading, and I think they looked pretty good for a Japanese aesthetic. But, you know, granted, I mean, they still did their homework. There's a lot of really great Japanese art references in this, no doubt. I just don't know if it goes as far as I would have liked to have seen. So we should probably sell some of this junk. Level 2. It's always really annoying if I'm trying to actually do this and talk at the same time, because it's like I'm trying to read these and then click on stuff. And of course, you guys, as I said already, you don't really want to watch me sorting through my inventory, but I'll just sell a couple of them for emphasis. And your character does change appearance based on what they have equipped. You will notice also that these have different classes, as you can see on the top right corner where it says light chest armor. I'm wearing medium chest armor. I'm not sure exactly how that manifests as far as what I'm going to expect to get a difference in as far as, you know, resistances. But I like that it at least tells me that. I mean, that's something. So we've got a one-handed axe. That was my default, was the axe. I started with a 2 to 10 damage one, and I still can't use most of the things that I get on drops because they're all higher level than me. Which gets a little frustrating, because as far as I know, there doesn't seem to be a way to stash stuff, so once your inventory fills up, you're just kind of out of luck and you gotta sell it. Unless I just missed it, which is entirely possible. I'm not sure if I looked really, really thoroughly. I mean, I looked around the town, but maybe I didn't click on something. Some boats down here, I'm not sure. Maybe that's how you would go to, like, the next area, if there is a next area after you finish off all the missions here. So yeah, I guess what we can do is see if we have enough to open up the next... No, we don't still. Right, because I bought an ability, so I'm kind of screwed when I have to do that. What is this? I clicked on it anyway. Krieger ravines access 3 more missions. I don't have enough money, so if I click that, it's probably going to want me to buy currency, right? Yeah, I don't have enough. Well, I guess we'll just go back to this point, and we'll do level 3 again. I've played a couple of free-to-play online RPGs that came out a little bit similar to this, where it seemed like there were just a few, like, hub areas that you could keep going to over and over again and grinding the same monsters, and my opinions of those were generally not super favorable. I do also want to point out, if you've noticed any lagging, both in terms of the music, the sound effects, or the actual visuals, it was doing that without me recording, and it was doing it consistently. And my computer is well capable of being able to handle this game, so I guess it's still some optimization that needs to go on. This level does feature a boss at the end, so I guess that'll be a nice thing to see. It's not particularly long either. I think most of these missions tend to run between like 4 and 10 minutes. And it would be interesting to see how this works when you're playing online with some friends. They seem to be generally pretty easy. I mean, granted, I died a bunch on the other mission. I'm not sure what was up with that. Might have just been because I wasn't paying as much attention, or maybe I just haven't been equipping enough appropriate equipment to really make good progress. But other than that one time, I really haven't died more than once or twice per mission. And unless the enemies scale up, I mean, I can't imagine, like, bringing another person in to help you fight is just going to make this kind of a pushover. But it is also the very beginning of the game, so there is the chance that that might be the case. Maybe things will just get much, much harder as you go on. Strange thing happened. I mean, it seems like before I started recording, I was not hardly taking any damage, and now that I am recording, I'm taking quite a bit. So I have to wonder if these enemies are scaling to my level, which, if that's the case, I really hate that, because scaling to your level just defeats the entire point of having levels in the first place. See, I couldn't attack that guy because there was a collision in the way. If I'm standing right here, and I want to click there, the character isn't smart enough to go, hey, I need to walk left a little bit to get to that end goal. Just keep running into nothing, which sucks. I don't like that at all. But those are all things that could get polished as the game gets closer to a full release. So I'm already kind of running on fumes here as far as health goes. It seems like I get a little bit of health back every time I get some more karma, but it's probably not enough to last me for too long. I might have wanted to buy one of those companions just to see what that was about, but I still didn't do it. I'd love to have an Amaterasu here. I guess maybe in my head I had like a little bit too high hopes in terms of the art style. I mean, once you've seen Muramasa, you can't really do much better than that for this style of an approach. But I guess I wouldn't really expect every developer to have that kind of an art style locked down, because that is exceptional. I guess it seems a little derivative to me. Everything's a little bit samey here. It's all kind of running together. I guess the other thing that seems a little bit like it, I wonder if this is the case, but maybe they're developing this, because I know they mentioned somewhere that they want to do an iOS port. So I wonder if they're really optimizing this for mobile, and then it's sort of like the porting is actually happening in reverse. Maybe they're designing it primarily for mobile, and then porting it to PC. Because I could see a lot of these textures scaling down pretty quickly to look very much like they would be featured on an iPad or something. And if you're playing this on an iPad, it actually would look pretty exceptionally good, I think. But on a computer, I don't know, feels a little lackluster. And I mean, I'm a pretty big fan of this style of game. I've put a lot of hours into it. I'm still playing Torchlight 2 on and off, despite beating the game. I haven't even still rerolled that character again, but I'm just going through the end game over and over again. Because that's one of the nice things is with that game, you can actually just keep going through dungeons indefinitely until you hit the level cap. I guess for masochists like me that just want to get maxed out loot or see how crazy they can go. And I find that approach a lot more appealing than the way Diablo did it, which is just to run the same dungeons over and over and over and over and over and over again. Because, you know, everything is... Granted, it's still procedurally generated in Diablo, but it just comes across like there's very few themes visually to look at. You know, the overarching maps that you're in are kind of going to look pretty similar every time. But they do take efforts to definitely try and differentiate it a bit. So we've got to kill the 3 Amano captains here, and there's one of them. They're not really exceptionally difficult to kill. And am I crazy, or is there a little bit of a WoW influence in some of the art style as well? I mean, granted, it would be a little silly to ignore a popular game like that, but I don't know, maybe it's just in my head. So I'm just bashing on click as usual, and I'm not saying that like it's a negative. I mean, that is just the way that these games are played. And anyone who spent time with them, you know, that's just standard. So let's find, I think we've got another one coming up here on the left, which I actually should have gone to. And it's nice to see that there are actually a few different enemies within this chapter. It's just, it seems very heavy on the wolves in general. And when we get to a point, I forgot, I think it was the second level, we got to the end and there was supposed to be like where the boss would be, but there was this alpha wolf laying dead on the ground. And then the character was like, I will kill you for killing the alpha wolf, but all I was doing is slaughtering wolves the whole time, so I don't understand exactly where that came from. But maybe there's still some story elements missing or something that just seemed like a bit of a jump. Oh, and there is actually a place I can go in here. Should probably use my 2 attack a little bit, get some health back. Obviously, the strategy involved in combat is going to get deeper as we go on and have the ability to buy more skills. Just right now, we're only dealing with the 2 most basic ones. I mean, one of them is the default starting skill, and the other one I just happened to buy. And it took, like, almost half of my entire karma, which I had gotten in the 40 or so minutes that I've played. So that seems like a pretty steep cost. But again, I am not sure I can really fault them if they want to go for a free-to-play model. That's kind of the way that stuff goes. I'm just not the hugest fan of that monetization scheme, as they refer to it. Alright, so there's 2 Amano captains. Some more. Okay, I'm full. I haven't had to deal with dumping stuff. How do I do that? Can I just drop it? No. Can I click it and hit delete? Backspace? No. Up here, maybe? Is there a trash? I can equip it. I get that part. There doesn't seem to be an obvious way... Oh, let's equip that. I need a better cloak. What am I missing? Is there a trash can somewhere? There really doesn't appear to be. Just dump it on the ground. No? No. Apparently I can't do that, so whatever. I'm not worried about it. Maybe I need to figure that out off camera. If there's a control setup here, there's not even that. I can't really look through. There's a help index. Oh, but it's coming soon. Alright, well, whatever. I'm not going to put too much time worrying about it. Let's go in here. Nice treasure chest, I guess. Probably some cool stuff. I don't know. I'm probably not going to bother trying to pick it up. Maybe that's just the way it is. Like, if you haven't dumped your equipment before going into a mission, you just use it or lose it. Seems a little weird. Also strange that escape doesn't bring up the menu. You have to always use this silly, like, monitor. Also strange that, like, this art style seems pretty consistent, and then there's just, like, a computer monitor, which seems really sort of out of place. I mean, surely there must have been a way that they could have approached having it be, like, a options menu without even making it look that strange. I mean, honestly, they didn't even need that there. They could have just made it be escape. So, I mean, it's going to get to a point pretty quickly here where the gameplay is going to become pretty samey as we're watching over and over again. I'm just going to keep beating stuff up. That's really all that we're going to get into. I mean, it's just a series of missions, leveling up your character, hopefully playing online with some friends, and accruing better loot to make a cooler looking and more powerful character. I mean, that's really all that these games ever really aspire to be anyway. Inventory full, item dropped. Why? Didn't do that before. Oh, maybe it saw that that was a better item or something? Whatever. Let's blow that gate open. We still got one more Amano captain to kill. Should be around here somewhere. I just sort of realized that the way the maps sort of sprawl in this strange branching path system sort of makes me think of 99 Nights a little bit. Or more appropriately, perhaps something like Dynasty Warriors, although I'm not a huge fan of that game. But 99 Nights I played the crap out of. They just have these very strange shapes that, like, you really wouldn't expect. They come across looking rather organic. But, you know, it just sort of doesn't really make sense. Like, things don't have that many round shapes to them, I guess, unless they're paths. Whatever. So why would you make the path in that shape as opposed to another shape? I don't know. So what are you guys thinking? Is this the kind of thing that you would get addicted to? I'm kind of feeling like I probably wouldn't. I think the time I've spent with it right now, playing it in the beta, seems like probably enough. I mean, why would I want to play this instead of just playing more Torchlight? Doesn't seem to really bring much new to the table, and in some areas where it's kind of important, it seems like it's actually missing some stuff. I mean, granted, it is free, so I can't be too upset at it, but I already bought Torchlight, and it wasn't that expensive to begin with. So it seems kind of tough to compare them. You know, one game that's really kind of got the whole thing figured out and is sort of operating at the peak of, I think, what a lot of people consider that genre to be. And then we've got a newcomer here, which is like, it's kind of struggling to get by, but it's not quite done yet, so really, again, I can't quite make that many criticisms, but I am judging it based on what's here. It's a strange balance when you're talking about betas every time. Like, you never know how much better or the same it's going to end up when the actual game finally does come out. Alright, these guys are freaking annoying me now. I really should be using my 2 attack more, I'm just not. Fall into a level of complacency sometimes when you play games like this. You just want to knock stuff out. Alright, please stop throwing stuff at me, come on. And it probably doesn't bear mentioning, but like obviously the blue meter is your magic and the red meter is your health. I mean, probably could tell that if you've ever seen a video game before. But yeah, that is one point in its favor. The UI generally seems to be fairly obvious. I don't think there were a lot of things that I was really genuinely that confused about, aside from just some questionable decisions as far as how I might have designed things myself. But you know, it's not my game, I don't get to make those calls. There's a nimble necklace. I wonder if you're able to sell things or trade items for money with other players. Sneaky looter. Are you one of those things from Diablo that's got like a sack of treasure and you gotta beat him to death before he runs away and goes in a portal? Get back here. I don't want to chase you down, man. I can't... Ugh. I don't have like a special super fast run mode. Seriously? And he's got like a bajillion HP as well. I can't stun him. I don't have a weapon that stuns stuff. Oh, this isn't fun. I'm just trying to beat him to death, but it's going to take a pretty long time, apparently. Yeah, just get stuck in this corner. That'll work. Wow. That was worth it. Whatever. I'm not worried about loot. I mean, I've been leaving stuff all over the place anyway. So our mission earnings are up to 1359. I believe we are approaching the boss here. To the right, that cave is just a dead end with some wolves in it. So don't worry, I'm not going to bother going down there. And I will probably die a few times. And there, I guess there's someone talking. I don't know what this is. Yeah, I guess so. Not sure exactly where they're talking from, because as far as I know, there's nobody else in my game with me, but maybe there's some sort of a world chat. Although I would think if there was, then wouldn't there be a lot more people talking? Well, whatever. Maybe there's just not that many people playing right now. So I'm going to end up spending most of my money just reviving, I guess. And that's the gamble that you take. You'll hopefully not have to spend more than you've earned. There's the big guy. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but does that not look like a WoW boss? Yeah, I've probably wasted this entire run now. It's totally scaling against my level or something, because there's no way that I've not died this many times before I started recording. I just haven't. And I still want to understand why I haven't gotten to level 4. So let's just waste all of my health, or karma rather, if I can. And try and get through this, and see if I do actually get to level 4, what happens if that's the case. You can't even really kite these guys around because you're constantly getting stunned. Like, I'm not that bad at any game like this that I wouldn't have at least thought to run around in circles a bit. I do that, but it's just not really working out with this guy. So I'm actually going to probably lose more money than I've gained throughout the entire game, actually, just trying to revive myself enough to get through this fight. Which is really cool, because I've already beaten it, so I don't understand why it's so hard now. Maybe I'm fighting it in, like, elite mode or something. Ushioni! You're very tough, and you're gonna kill me again, aren't you? Yep. Okay, well that's the last revive I'm gonna get. This is sort of an interesting mechanic. It's sort of like Dark Souls. And that would be that. And I don't have enough to revive anymore, but I'm sure I could buy some more. And look at the dialogue boxes stuck between there. Alright. Interesting to know that you can essentially wager your entire earnings that you've had from the entirety of the game, and then lose versus a boss, and then lose it all. I don't even have enough to buy a nice doggy. Oh well. Inugami. Also strange, like, that these back buttons would be over here, right? Like, wouldn't you expect them to be up here somewhere? I mean, maybe that's because I'm conditioned to use Windows so much. Seems like a long stretch to go from there to there with the mouse all the time. Especially because there doesn't seem to be a lot of keyboard controls that you can use. So, I guess that's going to wrap us up for this episode. I mean, it's really kind of a mixed bag here. It's going to be free to play, so I can't really not recommend it, but at the same time, I'm not emphatic or excited about the game really that much. I think I put in my time playing it. I think that's probably going to be about as much time as I'm going to put in playing it. I guess if I was really desperate for something, like if I was just absolutely pining for something like Torchlight and I had absolutely no money to buy anything, this might be an okay place to start. But I feel like there's so many other types of free online action RPGs that maybe there might even be a better option out there already. I don't know. Still, it's worth watching. It seems like it could get better with a bunch of polish. But as it stands, it's just kind of like, meh. A lot of meh. So, try it if you want. I'm not going to say much beyond that. The open beta is probably going to end for a while. I'm not sure exactly what their plans are for release. But right now, they're running a Kickstarter, which is eventually going to run out, and they're either going to get funded or not. And then the beta at some point will also end, and I'm not sure how they're going to actually approach, final release. I know it's going to show up on Steam at some point because it got greenlit, but don't know when that'll be. So maybe they'll do some serious testing, get a lot of this stuff polished up, and who knows, maybe we'll have a much nicer game in the end as a result. But as it stands, I mean, I don't generally assign numbers to things, but if I were to give this a number, I'd give it like a 5.5 out of 10 or something like that. It kind of pains me to say a little bit because it's a genre I absolutely love, and in general, a graphical style that I generally love, but I just feel like it didn't quite do it as much justice as it probably should have. And again, offsetting that with the fact that it's still a beta and you never know where it's going to end up shifting when the actual finished product goes. So, I think we're going to wrap it up at this point. Thanks very much for watching, guys. As always, remember to head on over to the website, www.indie-impressions.com. Check out all the videos, old and new. Sort them by distribution method, by platform, by genre. I've got all that stuff tagged for you. It makes it nice and convenient. We also have forums over there, so feel free to say hey. Hopefully meet some really cool people who also love indie games as much as you probably do. And when you're done with the website, facebook.com/indieimpressions is your next stop. If you'd like to leave a like over there, you'll get every day's new video delivered right into your Facebook feed, which will make it nice and convenient for you. That way you don't have to come looking for them. And I also do the occasional news update or contest through the Facebook page, so, I mean, it helps me out, and it makes it pretty convenient for you. I should also mention this item crafting guide does not work yet. I think I read on the website they're still working on him, so maybe something else that will improve how this all pans out later on. And lastly, of course, if you have any comments, questions, suggestions, criticisms, or you'd like to get in contact with me about possibly checking out your game on the show, best way to reach me is at RockLeeSmile on Twitter. But I also have a contact forum right on the website, as well as take PMs via Reddit, YouTube, or Twitter, so feel free to contact me however works for you. I'm pretty versatile and flexible when it comes to that. So that is going to do it for another episode, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, please come back again tomorrow, because I do a new episode every single day. And we'll try and hit another awesome indie game. We're getting close to 300 episodes now. I'm really psyched for that. So thanks very much, and have a lovely night, guys. Take care.